Our village was in the remote mountainous region of the far northwest. Because parents worried about their children going out at night to meet wild animals, they often told scary stories to scare our children. This creepy story happened a long time ago. At that time, the tunnel was not open. Most of the villagers were hunters and very few farmers. Because our village was isolated from the outside world, we had limited electricity at that time. The power source was only provided to the village committee. The poor families still had to use candles to light the night. In the evening, the whole village was pitch black. The space was empty and there was no one in sight. The children also soon returned home before the sun was out. In our village, there was a man named Tien. He was strong and good at hunting. It took him a long time to save money to buy a flashlight. That night, Tien woke up to go to the toilet. As soon as he stepped out of the room, he heard people talking outside the courtyard wall. He stood in the corner and listened carefully, but he only heard strange noises and didn't understand anything. Tien guessed that they were thieves, and they were using a secret signal. So he tiptoed open the courtyard door and looked outside to see if anything was amiss. Tien saw 5 black shadows in front of his neighbor Tam's door. This made him feel very strange. Because it was too dark, Tien could not see anything clearly, only feeling 5 shadows like 5 children playing. Tien thought that these children might be the children of the neighbors, and they sneaked out of the house in the middle of the night to make trouble. At this moment, Tien suddenly remembered that he had just bought a flashlight and he quickly took it out to try. Tien went back to the house and took out the flashlight. Tien turned on the flashlight and shone it on Tam's door to see clearly. In an instant, Tien fell to the ground in fear. He was speechless. Tien saw 5 little monsters in front of Tam's house. They were holding an iron chain and spinning in a circle. That causes them to make noises when they walk. Tien's flashlight fell to the ground in an instant because he was too scared. The little monsters over there heard the noise, so they looked at each other. One of the little monsters seemed to be moving forward. The closer he looked, the scarier the hideous face of that little monster became. Tien looked at it and touched the iron chain in the monster's hand. Tien was so scared that he didn't dare to look at it again. His legs were shaking and he couldn't even get up. He saw the little monster getting closer and closer. He did not care about other things. He immediately knelt on the ground and bowed to the little monster. Tien begged the monsters to let go of his mercy. "If I do something shocking to you, please forgive me and spare my life," Tien said. But the monster stood still, motionless. Tien could only slam his head harder, bowing to them repeatedly. While bowing, Tien heard footsteps getting further and further away. His sweat fell to the ground, but he still did not dare raise his head to look. Waiting until there was no sound, Tien dared to look up. Of course, there was not a single person around. Tien hurried back home and called his father, Lao Tzu. "Dad, I just met a monster." When Tien told his father about this matter, Lao Tzu, who was still sleeping, immediately became frightened. Lao Tzu quickly got out of bed and said to Tien, "Go to the yard to light incense and put 5 glasses of wine." Lao Tzu took Tien to the door, burned incense and poured wine. His father asked Tien to knock his head on the wine glass 5 times. Lao Tzu reminded him. Lao Tzu reminded Tien when anything happened he was not allowed to raise his head. After finishing his sentence, Lao Tzu ran back home quickly. Tien followed his father's instructions and bowed down to the cup. The voice getting closer and closer made Tien extremely scared. He felt like he was going to die. But he always kept his father's words in mind and didn't look up after he knocked his head 5 times. The voice was getting closer and closer to his ear. Tien closed his eyes tightly, afraid that Tien would be killed if he happened to see it. Then he heard a cup fall, and then there was no movement. Tien waited for a while, kneeling until his legs were a little numb. He slowly opened his eyes. On the ground, only the shards of 5 cups could be seen. He raised his head to look around. The flashlight that he had just dropped on the ground was still lit. The incense in the bowl had gone out. There seemed to be nothing to prove what he had just gone through, except for those fragments. Tien took the flashlight and returned to the house, his heart still pounding. As soon as he entered the door, his father sighed. "Looks like Tam from next door will not live long." Tien was surprised and asked his father what happened. Lao Tzu glanced at him and explained, "These are small ghosts sent by Hades who came here to lock the souls of the dying." According to what Lao Tzu said, Tien saw these things to be true to 80% of what he had seen. Tien was stunned because Tam was too young to die. He felt real fear. Since the monsters now drank and ate Tien's incense, they wouldn't kill Tien. Tien breathed a sigh of relief when he had just escaped death. Only the next day, when the sun began to rise, the countryside was still quiet. Tien was going up the mountain to hunt, suddenly remembering what his father had told him yesterday about Tam's short life. He unconsciously looked at Tam's house. At this moment, he saw the door of Tam's house open. Tam strongly took a gun and went out. Tien looked at Tam striding back, thinking that his father had lied to him about yesterday. Tien felt more comfortable seeing that Tam was very healthy. Then Tien continued to hunt without thinking about anything anymore. In the evening, Tien held 2 rabbits that he had hunted that day. From afar, he saw that there were many people gathered in front of Tam's house. He ran closer and saw that people were crowded around. Tien couldn't keep his composure and tried to squeeze into the crowd. He saw a white cloth hanging in Tam's yard, and Tam's body was covered with another white sheet in the middle of the yard. Tien was in a daze. Cold sweat poured out like a bath. At this moment, he felt someone pat him on the shoulder from behind. He was still shocked. Looking back, it was his father, Lao Tzu, with a stern face looking at Tien. Lao Tzu took his son home, and the whole way he didn't say anything but just sighed. Lao Tzu looked sadly at his son sitting on the bed and comforted him. Lao Tzu said that fortunately yesterday, the monster drank Tien's wine. Otherwise, Tien would also have a disaster. Since then, Tien did not dare to go out at night anymore. Later, other families in the village used this story to teach their children not to go out at night.